Arrested a suspect in the 2014 murder of Tammy Holland. She died after someone stabbed her to death in her Trinity home.
On October 28, 2014, a friend went to the home of 50-year-old Tammy Holland to check on her after not being able to reach her by phone. He found her dead in the living room of her own home at 964 Laughlin Hill Road in Trinity, North Carolina. It was a terrible scene. Who might have killed this woman, and why might they have done it? Hi, and welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing, as it helps us motivate to create more intriguing content for you. Let's have a look at the 9-year-old cold case finally solved in 2023. This cold case takes us to Trinity, which is a place in North Carolina, United States. It is in Randolph County. Trinity is a pretty small town. The most well-known thing about the town is that it was called after Trinity College, which later changed its name to Duke University. The headquarters of Sealy Corporation, which makes more bedding goods than any other company in the world, is in Trinity. Tammy Holland, the person who was killed, was born in this beautiful town in 1964. We don't know much about her early life, but we do know that she and her husband had 2 kids while they were married. We don't know what happened to him or why they stopped talking to each other. In the years that came after, Holland kept living in Trinity, North Carolina, with her 2 boys. From what we know about Holland's life, she had a pattern and worked hard. She was the only one in her family who brought in money, so she had to work different shifts and switch jobs over the years to find security. When she was 36, she finally got a job at Elizabeth's Pizza, where she stayed for many years. She would work the night shift, so she could be home with her kids during the day and give them the best setting she could. After a rough start, things finally started to go well for the family. Her kids grew up, learned how to take care of themselves, and moved out to live on their own. By the time she turned 50 years old in 2014, she had 2 more grandsons. Everything seemed to be going well until one day, when something happened that would change their lives forever. Randolph County Police heard about a strange call on October 28, 2014. The person who called 911 was Holland's neighbor. The cops said that Holland's neighbor had been trying to get in touch with her but hadn't been able to. He thought she was just busy at work because he couldn't reach her. On October 28, 2014, he chose to go see her in person to see how she was doing. He got to Holland's house at around 2:10 a.m. He was surprised to see that all of her lights were still on. He also saw that Holland's car was still in the driveway, even though she was usually at work at Elizabeth's Pizza in Thomasville at this time. This made him wonder if everything was okay, so he thought she was home and went to check on her. But there was no answer when he knocked on the door. He went to her window to see if she was inside the house because he was confused. As he looked through the hole, he saw her legs and then her body, which was still on the floor. This scared him so much that he ran to call 911. The caller gave the Randolph County police officers an address, so they moved quickly to get there. When they got to Holland's house, they opened the door. There she was, dead and covered in blood in her living room. The police and investigators quickly put up a lock on the house and sent in their forensic investigators to look at the body and the crime scene. The body of Holland was then taken to have an autopsy done. The North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office shared the results of an autopsy, which showed that she was stabbed and then left to bleed to death. She had been stabbed several times in the neck and body. This was found to be the reason why the person died, and the case was called a murder. A test to see if she had been raped was also done, but there was no sign of sperm on her when she died. She was staying alone in the Laughlin Hill mobile home park. When the Randolph County Police found out why she died, they began their investigation. First, they talked to people in the homes next to Holland's. That's how they found out that Holland had a loud fight in her house the night before she died. There was even proof that she had called 911 was about it. But when she was offered medical help and a probe into what happened, she turned them down. During the initial investigation, Randolph County Police had a number of people on their list of suspects, but they were unable to find proof that pointed to any one of them being the person who did it. Even though the cops found evidence at the scene of the crime, including DNA that didn't belong to Holland, they were unable to find any matches in their system that would have helped them figure out who did this bad thing. The Randolph County Police did everything they could to find the person who did it. They even offered a big prize of $5,000 for information on who killed Holland, but none of the tips they got were good. The case went cold when there were no more suspects or new clues to follow. But no answers were given to any of the important questions. Who do you think could have killed Tammy Holland? Was it the same person she got into a fight with the day before she died, or was it someone else? Even though it had been years since the murder of Tammy Holland, the county's agents were still eager to find out what happened. In 2020, they brought the case back up and started a new probe. They used all the information they had, including the DNA evidence they found at the crime scene. The first thing they did to start the probe was to send the DNA evidence to the CODIS system. After 3 years, the machine came up with a match, but they were surprised to find not just one culprit but two. Roy Lee White and Florence Keene were named as the people who did it. A warrant was issued for Roy Lee White and Florence Keene on January 26, 2023. Roy was wanted for being an accomplice to a first-degree murder after the fact, which is a crime. The order says that Roy Lee White and Florence Keene lived near Holland and were good friends with her. They talked together a lot. The cops made Roy and Florence wanted criminals by issuing a warrant for their arrest. Roy and Florence had been able to avoid the cops for almost a decade, but DNA evidence showed that they were the ones who killed Tammy. Since the two people who did it were on the run, Randolph County Police did everything they could to find them. They looked for Roy Lee White in the neighborhood where he used to live, but they couldn't find him. He was on the run for sure. At 11:10 p.m. on February 7, 2023, the Randolph County Sheriff's Office team for catching criminals found Roy at the Econo Lodge on Brentwood Street in High Point, North Carolina, and arrested him. He was then taken to the Randolph County Detention Center and brought before a judge, who set a guaranteed bond of $60,000 for him. He was supposed to go to court for the first time on February 8, 2023, in Randolph County District Court. Now that Roy was in custody, the police wanted him to come clean about the killings. He let the cops arrest him and worked with them while they questioned him. People asked Roy about the death and where his wife Florence was. In an open confession, he said that Florence had stabbed Holland while she was dying in her home on the night of October 28, 2014. Roy took control of the situation quickly by hiding the knife that Holland was killed with. When the police came to their door after the crime was done, the couple played their part, which was just enough to keep them from being caught. They were able to do that, and the cops had no idea that they were the ones who did the wrongdoing. The couple stayed out of trouble for almost a decade, until DNA proof pointed straight to them. But Florence died of natural causes in 2018, which caused Roy to be kicked out of his home. He started living in hotels for short periods of time before going on to the next one. The Randolph cops found Roy in one of these hotels. That's where they finally caught him. But there was still the question of how the couple had stayed away from the cops for so long. Why didn't anyone think they killed Holland? Well, when the case was first being looked into before it went cold, agents had talked to them. But they didn't get caught because they said they didn't know anything about the killings. But when the police looked into Tammy Holland's cold case again in 2020, they found DNA evidence that led them right to Roy and his wife Florence. After Roy's confession, no more information about the murder was given out. However, the sheriff's office did give out some information about the murder, such as the DNA proof, details about the crime scene, and other information. Now that her killer was found, Holland's family and friends came out to remember her. When the news came out, her friends and family said that she had always been a hard worker and a good friend, and that she had a very kind heart. The owner of Elizabeth's Pizza, Aldo DePorto, mentioned that Holland had always been happy and laughing when she came in. He added that Tammy Holland had been the type of person who was consistently supportive of her co-workers and had a good relationship with everyone. According to him, she was considered one of the genuinely good people in the world and an excellent colleague. Even after a significant amount of time had passed, the staff still felt the absence of Holland. DePorto stated, "We still remember her. We recall what she was like, and she will always hold a significant place in our memories. Her impact will be long-lasting." DePorto also expressed that he did not wish to pass judgment on Roy or Florence, but instead focused on Holland's family. He mentioned, "We keep Tammy in our prayers. We truly valued her presence during her time working here. She is often in our thoughts, and we pray for her family." What do you think about the Holland case? Do you think that what was right was done? What do you think? Tell us in the area below. If you like our videos, please like them and subscribe to our station to see more like this. If you click the bell icon, you'll know when we upload a new video. Thanks for watching.